So my name's Jenny, and today's talk is on sharing your game with streamers, aka Play My Game Please. Also the quickest ever guide to influencer relations you'll ever hear. I could talk about this forever, so please hit me up if you want more of this, because I really tried hard to fit it all in. 10, 15 minutes is not enough. So this is me. I know a few of you here, but I'm relatively new to the PIGSquad scene. So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about myself. I was a middle school teacher for quite some time. Woohoo! Takes a special brand of person, that's for sure. For a long time, I also was the social and community lead, as well as the live stream host for a company called Atomic. That was actually my first job in this industry. And from there, I did a lot of contract work and was picked up by Rose City Games. So I'm a community manager for Rose City Games. Yay! Super exciting. And if you want to find me on Twitter, because I would be remiss if I was a community manager and didn't talk about Twitter, you could find me on KimChica25. So first of all, why streamers? We know they all play Fortnite. They don't. But streamers can really do a lot for your game. But right now, unfortunately, they're being pulled in a lot of directions. There's lots of places that they can hear about games, they can access games. Not only these platforms, like the ones we're familiar with, like Steam, Epic, Humble, GOG, Discord, new places I think are propping up every day. But they're hearing about games from press outlets, they're hearing about games from other streamers, so you're really going to have to compete with a lot to sort of cut through that noise. But if you find the right streamers to play your game, they can help you cut through the noise and help you find the people who like your type of game specifically. And that's really the goal, because there is a game for every person out there. You just have to find them. And the emphasis, though, is on the word help. There are a lot of other factors. It's like in the 90s when they had those commercials, it's like, this is part of a balanced breakfast. You can't depend on streamers to do all of that work for you. You need to do a lot of work yourself with your game to make sure that you provide them the resources to also be advocates for you. So, being a former teacher, I was like, let's create goals and objectives for today. Really, I want to help you identify, I should have changed this because it shifted a little bit, but identify essentially ways that you can help streamers quickly catch your game. How do you catch their eye? I want you to hopefully come away with this with a way to generate a specific list of people you can reach out to, not just a mass email list, which can be helpful, but this is hopefully a little bit more specific. How you can create that strong initial email first impression, and how you can foster relationships. Because ultimately what you want to do when working with streamers is not just get them to play your game once, but to really feel invested in your game and you as a developer and hopefully your future projects. So, yay. Step one is, and I think Ryan's talk, I can't find where Ryan is right now, but yes, Ryan's talk was like the perfect predecessor to this one. You have to be online. Streamers stream online. They find their games online. There's just no way around it. So have some sort of social presence. It can be on the platform of your choosing. There are certain ones that lend themselves to perhaps being discovered a little bit more easily than others. Twitter, for example, is one that I feel if you are an indie dev and you want your game to, or a game dev, just any developer, if you want your game to get seen, you probably should have a Twitter account. And I love that Ryan also talked about GIFs, because consistently posting footage of your game, whether they be still image, GIFs, video clips, what have you, those will help hook and gain the attention of streamers and press, really, anyone who's looking on the internet for your game. The key to this, and I'll show a little bit more later, is they have to evoke some sort of reaction. They can't just be sort of random. They have to elicit some feeling from the viewer. And finally, have a press kit. Not all streamers use press kits necessarily, but from my polls that I've done before this talk, they're starting to become more and more recognized by streamers as places they can go for resources like images, GIFs, and trailers to use before going live to help promote the games to their community and get their community excited. So if you have a solid press kit, that's not just good for the press, that's now also good for streamers. And I highly recommend that you send your press kit to streamers and remind them that it's there. And again, to shout out Ryan's talk again, consistency. It doesn't have to be often, just consistent. So here are just a few GIFs. I literally typed in hashtag indie games, and these are some of the ones that came up. So your GIFs, they could be epic sort of trailer montages. They can evoke or kind of show off unique mechanics and sort of evoke joy through color and movement. You can amaze people with action. I think this is Katana Zero, yeah. And you can just do even mundane things like a cat licking itself. Really, as long as there is something in it that can catch someone's eye. Just a little anecdote as I was thinking during Ryan's talk. One of our best performing GIFs from the world next door was literally a GIF of June running through the marketplace. There was no action there, but people really enjoyed that one. So something that you as a developer might feel like is a GIFable thing might not be as readable to someone as a cat licking itself. So really think simply. You don't have to have something really fancy or super complex for an audience to appreciate it. Also, if you don't have a press kit, even if you don't use this resource, dopresskit.com. I believe Rami was behind it, probably a bunch of people. This is a great resource to know what to put on your press kit, not only for, again, streamers, but anyone who's interested in your game. Step 2 is find your people. So I said earlier, streamers, they don't all stream Fortnite. They are a very diverse group, and so really understanding what your goals are, I guess, before even reaching out to streamers. Do you want feedback on your game? Is it perhaps a demo that you're just hoping people who are familiar with the genre can tell you about it? Are you looking for more visibility? So perhaps this is a different type of size of streamer that you're looking at. And with sales, that's yet another different kind of category that I would look at for different streamers. Determining what you want, obviously probably you're like all of these. I want feedback, visibility, and sales. But really highlighting at what point your game is at can help you determine what kind of streamer you want. If your game isn't ready for maybe the ninjas of the world to stream it, don't reach out to the ninjas of the world. But maybe there's some mid-sized streamers who appreciate where your game is at that point in time. And with that, I do a lot of research by watching a lot of streams. It starts off as fun, and then it kind of gets not as fun. But when I look at streams, and it doesn't feel like research sometimes, but it is. When you're watching streams, these are the factors, or these are what I tend to look for when I watch streams. The first thing is my gut vibe. Do I actually like this person? Because as a dev, anyone who streams your game, especially if you are reaching out to them specifically to stream your game, will essentially become a tangential representation of you. So you want to make sure that if you're reaching out and asking someone to stream your game, you actually like them. It's important to also look at their concurrence. For those of you who aren't familiar with the lingo, that's just how many people on average are hanging out in that person's stream. What's tough is that the bigger number isn't always better. A lot of times people will have hundreds of followers in their chat hanging out, but no one's talking. Whereas maybe a smaller streamer might only have 35 people on average in their chat, but everyone's talking, the community is definitely engaged. So you have to look not only at the number, but balancing it with how interactive is their chat, how involved is the community, and what is the relationship between the people who are in there as well as the person presenting. I also think it's important, and we forget sometimes, how often do people go live? Some people are very big streamers that only go live once a month, twice a month, and that's fine. But if you're wanting to get your game streamed a certain amount of times, or if you're on a deadline, that's something to take into account. And what kind of streams they do. So what's wonderful about platforms, and it's not just Twitch, there's Mixer, Caffeine, Periscope, like storefronts, they're popping up like daisies. But with these platforms, there are people who stream creative streams, so art, cooking, talk shows. You can look at these kind of streams and say, well, maybe my gameplay isn't quite ready yet, but I could join on a talk show. Or if my art style is really unique, perhaps I could show some assets off and engage a creative streamer and see if we can get some excitement about the game going just tangentially through that. So really kind of exploring outside of the box with not just gameplay, but what else could excite people about your game and get them involved. So the specifics. To find streamers, and if I'm doing a cold, just like I'm gonna go onto Twitch and find people, the search function is my best friend. So what I do is I go into search and I'll type in games that are related to the game that I'm creating. So for example, boop, if I went into the search bar, I typed in Oxenfree, this is what popped up. What I have here in this bar is you can see videos. You can also see who's live. Now, Oxenfree has been out for some time, so at this time, there wasn't a whole lot of people live. But when I look at the videos, I can see how recently someone streamed Oxenfree, and then see like, oh, well, if they recently streamed Oxenfree, they're in the mood for this adventure type of narrative game, perhaps they'll like my game. And from there, go onto their channel, watch it, see if I like them, you know, spend more than 5 minutes watching their channel, because that definitely takes time to get to know a person. And then hopefully if their email is on their page, which 50% of the time it's not, you'll be able to find their email and do some outreach there. I blurred this out because so it's not super useful, I guess, in this respect. But I just wanted to show you the columns that I have for how I keep track of the streamers I do work with. I try to keep it for my brain fairly simple, and I used to have a lot more, but this is the stuff that I actually end up using. And this is the list that I keep across titles. So I have individual tabs for specific games, perhaps specific beats in the campaign, like this was the release announcement, and this is where we contacted them there. This is the launch, announce date versus the launch. But I try to keep track of their handle, their preferred name, which sometimes is their stream name. It's totally cool if you can't find their real name, call them by their stream name. There are some people who prefer to go by that than their real name online. Their channel links, email, Twitter, because they're all on Twitter, and then whether or not I sent a key, followed up, which we'll get into in a second. And then I always try to find the content link so that I can save it, even though VODs on Twitch don't always exist for more than a month. So know that sometimes they'll have streamed it, and if they don't get back to you in this short amount of time, that VOD might be lost, depending on their settings. And of course, thank yous, because we are nice people, and if they streamed our game, it's really good to thank them for it and thank them for their time. So we've got emails, hopefully. If you've got, oh, I didn't want to put underpants, sorry. That was just my excuse to say underpants in a talk. So a lot of times when you have the email, you don't know how to get to that point for the sweet indie dev fame and fortune that we all know is out there that we can achieve. Phase 2 is kind of a mystery. So here is probably the most wordy text-filled slide, but only because if you want to take a picture, I figured it'd be easier if it was all on there. Email best practices. This is from personal experiences, both receiving these as well as sending them out. First of all, in the title of the email, the header, use their stream handle or their name, whichever one they prefer to be called by online. If you don't know, use their stream handle. It will catch their eye a lot more quickly. Make it personal. Try to include just like one sentence, because remember you did the research anyways, use it, about their stream. Like, hey, I saw you streamed Oxenfree the other day. Love that game. I thought you might like this. Here's why. And then you do a very short blurb for your game and link your press kit, social handles, website. Include 1 to 3 small images or GIFs. Now this is really important because they probably don't know your game. And if you just have text, even if you're like the most beautiful poet, wordsmith of all time, they might not have the time to read through it and search for themselves. So showing them a GIF to just hook them will just make their lives easier, and you'll be much happier for it. And if you have a demo, include it, because that's something actionable that they could do right then and there to play. And at the very end, or just anywhere in the email, try to give them something to do. Because if you're just emailing them saying, hey, I have a game, they're gonna be like, okay, cool, congratulations. It's tough to make a game, but they're not gonna do anything with it. So sign up for a Discord, play the demo, stream my game, let me know what you think. Give them something actionable to do so they feel like they can respond to you without sounding lame. Because sometimes you're just like, I don't know what to say back, and you don't respond. And if you have an embargo, I've learned this from experience, don't just use the word embargo, because sometimes streamers and just people in general don't know what that means. Say, please do not stream or create video footage until insert date here, because sometimes they just don't know, and you don't want to assume. So, some samples. And this was super quick. I literally, after work, I just sort of went through and found some emails. I know that, and I'm not very prolific in terms of requesting or reaching out to get keys or anything like that, but I will receive at least between 5 to 10 emails a day from different developers with info about their games. And that's just in my inbox, not my like spam folder, which that probably has a lot more. So that's just to let you know this what is it, the magnitude of emails that people get. So this one was really nice. This is actually from a PR firm, but I love that they have images here that I was able to connect with in bullet points so that I don't have to read very much because I don't have time. Now this one I was mixed because I loved, it was short, it had the key, I was really excited about it, but the GIF was all the way over there. And I was so sad because I kind of lost interest just because I saw this like hole in the email. But I love that they have a GIF. So I wanted to also say, don't randomly make things centered in your emails when everything else is left. So just don't. And that's happened more than once, which is why I put that in. This one was really nice. There was a GIF, but it was not loading for some reason when I opened my email today. But what I loved about this one in particular is, I'll read it out loud. The developer talks about himself. And so he talks about that he's a filmmaker as well as a dev, and the fact that this narrative comes from a very personal place. And that immediately hooked me, along with the GIF that for some reason did not load. So don't be afraid to get personal, not just about them and how you found them, but about yourself, because they'll find something relatable to you or to them through your experiences. This one was funny because he forgot to send the code, and so he resent me an email with the code, but he also included yet another GIF. And so it got me re-excited because I had actually kind of forgotten about this game because it had been 2 weeks since our last contact, and that imagery got me excited about the game again. And again, soft embargo, which I know what embargo means, so I guess he doesn't have to explain it. This one was interesting because it is straight up text, but because I have a relationship with the dev, I still read it. I blocked out the name of the title and the developer just because I didn't know if it was, I didn't ask them to show this email, so I didn't want to assume. But what's really exciting is that they started with, got some pretty gosh darn exciting news today. If you'd like to play the game right goddamn now. Sorry, I just quoting. But the tone of it, because we had exchanged emails before, they didn't have to include any pictures, but I still get a sense of like who this person is. I know their attitude. I know like what I'm interacting with as a streamer. So don't be afraid to curse if that's part of your brand, because it's a part of theirs. So once you have made first contact, you've finally found their email, they said, yes, I want to stream your game, interact with them. You have your social media account. Find them on social media, like their things, say, hey, that stream was awesome, like actually type in a comment. What's really nice is that in stream culture, you don't have to stay for the whole thing. They're often very long if you haven't seen a stream. If you're in a stream for your game for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that's totally fine. And they'll understand if you're like, just popping in, super excited you're streaming my game. That 10 to 15 minute interaction of you just saying hi, they'll be talking about it for the rest of the stream. It's pretty awesome. People who stream indie games do so because of that feeling of closeness with the developers. So don't be afraid to like use it. And like it feels really cool when you're a dev and you're in a chat and everyone's like, oh my gosh, the dev's in the chat. It feels really good for you too. So you can like take that moment and celebrate. When you're in there, just be a nice person. Sometimes I feel like it needs to be said just to remind everyone, just be a nice person, say thanks for streaming my game. If they're talking about other things, jump in. That's okay to talk about things not directly in the gameplay. And I highly encourage you to snag clips if you have moments that are really cool that you're witnessing. Later on, you can use that as content, retweet it, share it. It not only makes the streamer really happy and want to like continue hanging out with you and talking with you, it's free social media for you. So clip away. And of course, celebrate the fact that people are playing your game, because that's pretty dang cool. So, what happens if you reach out and they don't stream your game? So sometimes you wait for like a week, and you keep waiting, and you're like, okay, that's fine, and you might get really sad, and maybe, I don't know, just not want to do anything anymore. That's okay. You can feel that for a minute, but then realize that you can follow up with them. Streamers are very, very busy. It's kind of like with press. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries. One of the emails that I showed earlier, the one with the dev who had like the personal story behind their game, he followed up with me twice, and I was genuinely interested in the game. I just was super busy. I had said, yes, I totally will make something on your game, and I just didn't do it for a while, and he kept bugging me. I would say only bug him twice. Do it about a week later, then maybe about 2 or 3 weeks later. After that, stop, because then it gets to be a little bit spammy. I also highly recommend you don't tag them in every tweet that you do. It gets very, very annoying, and that happens. So after about 2 or 3 soft pokes, they might just genuinely not have time, and it's nothing, don't get sad. Might not even be related to you. If you genuinely enjoy that streamer, save their contact info. Try again next time when there's an update, different game comes out, you have a different project. Because yeah, sometimes it's just a timing thing. So then, profit. No, just kidding. It's actually more of like, you repeat steps 1 through 4. A lot. So as you continue to level up your influencer relations skills, because this is influencer relations, best practice in networking, that all works here. And I think Anna's going to be talking about networking soon too, so that's cool. Also start local. What's really cool is we're at an event like PIGSquad for developers to network and talk and learn from each other. There are also events like that here in Portland for streamers and content creators, so use those. There are POBA, Portland Online Broadcasting Association, and Twitch, not Twitch, PDX, sorry, Portland Community Meetup. Those are the 2 bigger ones that are currently quite active. They have streamers both small and large, partnered, affiliated, not, really of all ranges and types. So you can start locally and meet streamers here to work with your game. And start small, so you don't have to get, again, the biggest streamers to stream your game. Try just having 10 people and of whatever size play your game, and use that as a learning opportunity to also get free content. This is tiny, because these are things, I sent out a blast email to a bunch of streamers and fellow influencers, basically to see what are some just quick quips you could give me on things that attracted to you or not about indie games. Especially because these are types of games that they hadn't heard of before. So I'm just going to read them very quickly. Game is clear from a thumbnail or a GIF. The GIF made me laugh. I saw a fellow streamer play it, so this is also really important. So if you get one person, you can also potentially get their friends. Streamers are friends with streamers. It's easy to make into a series of videos, matched well with my community. The devs asked me to play it. The email did not seem like a form message because they knew what content I created. The devs team are engaged, making me excited about what they'll do next. Most devs don't care, but these ones did more than just pay me and move on. I liked, this one was funny, I liked that they send me and my friend a pizza gift card because they wanted me to cover this game with a friend for co-op. So if you, if you have the funds, feel free to send them things. People like free things. They used my name in the title of the email, which totally caught my attention. And there was a lot more. If you want to talk to me more about this, you are more than welcome to. But these are kind of the big ones that repeated, not the pizza card one, but the other stuff repeated a bunch. So yeah, that is the quick guide to getting everyone to play your game. Thank you, and let me know if you have any questions. Yeah.
So one thing I noticed you really glossed over, it was really just in one of those comments there, they didn't just pay me and move on. You didn't really talk about ever paying streamers for their time, and obviously as you have smaller streamers, you know, their time's not as valuable. If you have bigger streamers, they have other devs competing for their time. How do you compensate them in that regard?
Yeah, so the question was, especially as an indie or a smaller developer, how do you compensate streamers for their time? And that's a really good question because streamers' time, regardless of size, they are choosing to spend their time on your game, so their time is valuable. Honestly, I think playing on that like charm of we are a small studio, we would highly appreciate this. And if you are doing your research and finding the type of streamer who enjoys your type of game inherently, very often they might just not even ask about it. If you can always offer up. It's always nice to hear when a dev is like, hey, if you really like this and you want to stream it, I'd love to throw in an extra key or two for your community. You could do a giveaway. And so it's kind of a double benefit because you're now spreading the game to even more people, getting people more excited. The streamer is also getting some sort of like compensation, but it's not monetary per se. So it's not like coming out of your, yeah, so it's a little bit better in terms of, yeah, like community, like you said. Hopefully that helps.
No, that's great.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Let's say you get your game streamed by somebody, but then you realize that the person streaming your game is an awful human being. Everything that you've done. How do you get out of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So preemptively, if you are giving your keys out, please do your research. That's why I say watch more than 5 minutes of their stream. Like, perhaps wait until they go live and lurk and see what their community is like before you offer up any sort of partnership, deal, key, anything like that. If this is a case of you offered a key, you didn't realize it, and now you're like, oh, this is probably not a good idea, you are always more than welcome, I think, personally, to reach out to the streamer and say, hey, I've seen this type of stuff happen in your stream, and their streamers are very aware of brand and like sort of that brand values. So if you went to them and said, hey, this stuff doesn't match our brand, our company, can we talk about this? And sort of make it so that they have a way to perhaps bow gracefully out. That might be a way to do it as well. But ultimately, if there's something that's like a hard, I don't want anything in my game associated with what they're doing, I say it's always okay to just be like, hey, I don't think it's a good fit anymore. Sorry. And that's totally fine. Yeah. Yes, Anna.
What would you say, like, let's say they're streaming your game, but what would you say is, what is too much for the developer to do? Like, what are lines that shouldn't be crossed when you're engaging with the community about your own game?
Like if a developer is in a chat, for example, what is too much for a developer to do? Oh yeah, the question is what is too much for a developer to do when in chat? I don't know, I mean, don't spoil it for people. I would say common stream etiquette, definitely read in streams, there are panels that usually denote the rules for the channel or the guidelines for community behaviors. If a streamer is generally like, I don't like backseat gaming, I like to discover things on my own. As a developer, you might see them play a game and you're like, oh gosh, they shouldn't, why are they doing that? You're gonna have to let it go, because it's okay, there's a computer screen between everyone. So just breathe through it, don't backseat game usually is probably the thing for developers that comes to mind. But yeah, honestly, just generally be a nice person, answer people's questions. If you vetted the community, it shouldn't be a place where you feel like your defenses have to be up in any way either. So, yeah. Cool. Thank you.